In a peaceful village there lived Rahmat, a young boy with big dreams and an unshakable thirst for knowledge. He was born into poverty, his father a laborer who carried bricks all day, his mother a seamstress stitching clothes to make ends meet. Their life was simple, yet filled with struggles. But despite their hardships, Rahmat's mind was always restless, filled with curiosity about the world. The village school was small and underfunded. The books were old, the teacher often absent, and resources scarce. Yet Rahmat never let these limitations discourage him. He would study under the dim light of a kerosene lamp, borrowing torn books from elders and asking endless questions about how the world worked. The teacher was on his way to tutor the landlord's son, a boy who had everything Rahmat could only dream of. One afternoon, while sitting in his small courtyard, flipping through a tattered science book, he saw his teacher passing by. Summoning courage, Rahmat asked, "Sir, I want to learn more, but I don't have good books. What should I do?" The teacher smiled and said, "Rahmat, if you truly want to learn, then the whole world can be your book. You just need to know how to read it." That night, Rahmat lay on his thin mattress, staring at the thatched roof, thinking about those words. The next morning, he decided to change his perspective. Instead of lamenting what he lacked, he started seeing lessons everywhere. He observed how the wind swayed the trees and thought about motion and force. He watched how rainwater pooled in the streets and pondered ways to collect and store it. Even his father's backbreaking work, lifting bricks and balancing weights, became a physics problem in his mind. However, the village boys mocked him. "Rahmat thinks he's a genius," they sneered, as if reading books will put food on his table. Rahmat ignored them. He knew that knowledge was his only path to a better life. One day, news spread that a science competition was being held in the district town. The winner would receive a scholarship to study in a prestigious school in the city. For Rahmat, this was a golden opportunity. But what could he present? He had no fancy materials, no laboratory, just his mind and his observations. Then inspiration struck. Every monsoon, his village flooded, yet a few weeks later, the land would dry up, leaving farmers struggling for water. What if he could find a way to store rainwater for later use? Using mud, bamboo, and clay pots, Rahmat designed a simple yet effective rainwater harvesting system. It wasn't perfect, but it was functional. On the day of the competition, Rahmat stood among students from well-funded schools, their projects gleaming with advanced technology. His model, built from humble materials, looked like a child's toy in comparison. When it was his turn, he took a deep breath and passionately explained how his system could help poor farmers by storing rainwater for irrigation. The judges listened closely, intrigued. When the results were announced, Rahmat could hardly believe it. He had won first prize. That moment changed his life. He received a full scholarship to study in the city. But before leaving, he gathered the village children and told them, "Poverty is not the real problem. Ignorance is. If we have the will to learn, we can change anything." Years later, Rahmat returned, not as a poor laborer's son, but as an engineer determined to transform his village. He built an irrigation system, improved the school, and inspired countless children to dream big. Because he had learned one of life's greatest truths: your circumstances do not define you, your determination does. Moral: your circumstances do not define you, your determination does. Knowledge and perseverance can break any barrier, no matter how impossible it seems. Years later, Rahmat returned, not as a poor laborer's son, but as an engineer determined to transform his village. He built an irrigation system, improved the school, and inspired countless children to dream big. Because he had learned one of life's greatest truths: your circumstances do not define you, your determination does.